Your razor high, Sweeney, hear it singing, yes. Stick it in the rosy skin of... Oh, didn't see you there. How long have you been hiding? How much did you see? I hope you enjoy my Sweeney Todd Halloween costume. Close enough. I already have the white hair stuff, so the rest was kind of easy to put together. Though I can hear you already saying, whispering, yelling into the sky, Floyd. And then I'll tell you, I'm no longer Floyd. That was just a bit. I'm back to being Ali. If you haven't, watch the last episode for more context on this very joke. Then you say, okay, Ali, have you lost weight? That is not what Sweeney Todd looks like. Where is the leather coat? And I'll say, are you fucking kidding me? I'm not gonna wear leather. Also, that's not the Sweeney we're gonna discuss. No, sir. Actually, yeah, we are going to discuss him, but that is way down the line. But I hear another group, this time saying with less anger and more confusion, what the hell is Sweeney Todd? Patience, dear watcher. But you're right. Let's talk about what this Sweeney thing is all about. 19 degrees Celsius and 19 degrees. Apparently you shouldn't put carbonated drinks in this stuff. So for those of you who don't know, Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, is the name of a musical written by one genius called Stephen Sondheim back in 1979 for Broadway. It has grown since into a sort of a sensation, and for many, myself included, has even reached the level of being the best work by the genius Stephen Sondheim. It has gotten a new surge of fame in the 21st century due to a 2007 adaptation done by one sort of genius, Tim Burton. But as I said, we'll get to that. Sondheim, the genius, based the story of the musical off of a 1973 play by Christopher Bond, which itself is based on a series of old serialized tales from the 1800s depicting an evil barber who kills his client and with the help of his accomplice, Mrs. Lovett, bakes them into meat pies and sells them. I'm starting to think the 1800s was kind of a bummer. Also, fun fact, there is actually a surviving silent movie about the infamous barber that I recommend you definitely check out. It's weird and old and, well, very fun. Sondheim's take on the titular demon barber of Fleet Street, though, had an odd idea to it, one that I couldn't figure out until fairly recently, and upon viewing a very certain video recording of a stage production. But before we can get there, I think it's good to talk about the story. A spoiler warning here, I will try to keep the rest of the video as spoiler free as I can, so if you want to jump away to there, you can go to this timecode or check out the chapters in the description and choose the appropriate one. Just a heads up, there are a lot of intricacies that will be lost in my summary and the little details that are different from the Bond play, the Sondheim musical, and the Burton movie, but the general idea and story themes are the same. Anyways, the tale of Sweeney Todd, whose face was pale and his eye was odd. he shaved the faces of gentlemen who never thereafter were heard of again. I'm reciting the lyrics, aren't I? Okay. It happens. Let's take it from the top. Let's start from the very beginning. There was a barber and his wife, and she was beautiful. A foolish barber and his wife. She was his meaning and his life, and she was beautiful, and I'm doing it again. Okay, this might take some time, but give me a chance and I'll try my best. There is this barber called Benjamin Barker, who has a very beautiful wife called Lucy, and they have a little girl together called Johanna, with an H. Then there is this judge called Turpin. The judge finds Lucy to be very pretty too. So like many true men of holiness and godliness, he uses the broken system to benefit himself. He sends Barker to exile, then invites over Lucy for a party and rapes her and leaves her. Lucy tries to kill herself, and Turpin, for some fucking reason, gets the custody of Johanna, the same one with an H. Years pass, and Barker, the barber, returns and takes the moniker of Sweeney Todd. There's this guy Anthony who helps him get to London, and in return gets one hell of a song called No Place Like London. So Sweeney/Benjamin goes to his old shop in Fleet Street and meets with an old friend, his razor. But also this woman called Mrs. Lovett, who owns and operates the small meat pie shop below Sweeney's barber shop. Lovett sort of fills Sweeney in as to what happened while he was away, but makes the claim that Lucy's suicide was successful and she's now dead. And Sweeney decides to go medieval on Judge Turpin's hiney and take revenge. There is this whole thing with a barber called Prelly and his young assistant called Toby, but what you need to know is that, I don't know why I need to tell you the whole story in detail. The stuff I want to mention is mostly about acting and humor. Long story short, Todd and Mrs. Lovett, they make a business out of killing people who go to Todd for a shave and then grinding them up and making them into pies. That's the main thing. The ending is not even that important, as the importance of the story is basically the evil route that Sweeney Todd takes, and the fact that even though he was opposing a very evil man, his actions were not justified. Yeah, that's all. I can talk about the more specific scenes when we get to them. Can you imagine if we went through a whole ass story bit by bit? By the end of it, we all would have died of old age, like that guy I killed in the cold open. Oh, fuck. You didn't hear that, did you? How to remove blood from costume. No, Sweeney Todd costume. Anyways, I think I might have found a very odd obsession with Sweeney Todd over the span of past year. What changed, you might ask? I don't know, I'm guessing. I can't really hear you from the future. That should be a buddy cop movie, right? Like two partners who communicate with each other through time. Yeah. Anyways, my amazing movie idea aside, what changed for me was that I realized there was a video recording of the play from 1981. It starred the original Mrs. Lovett, the amazing Angela Lansbury, and the second original Sweeney Todd, my newest love, George Hearn. I just watched that, and I suddenly got why Sweeney Todd was a big deal. Before that, my understanding of Sweeney Todd was mostly the Burton movie, which we'll get to, and the Broadway recording album, which is good and gives a lot of context to what the show was like, but it's not the same as watching it. It's recorded in a studio, and God bless the people recording it, but they're not putting as much emotion in it as they would on the stage. So by watching this recording, I finally got it. First off, I can't recommend it enough. If you like Sweeney Todd or just musicals, go ahead and watch the 1981 video recording. It's amazing. It was recorded in LA for TV as part of the show's American tour, so it's not really a stage recording since there was deliberate camera movements. But at the same time, I think that helps it a lot. Funnily enough, the guy who did it, Terry Hughes, was also like the main director for most of the Golden Girls. You do with that information as you wish. First, let's talk about Angela Lansbury. I don't think I need to talk about what a legendary actress she is, but I will. She originated the role on Broadway, and it's not out of the realm of possibility to see that Sondheim purposefully wrote the role for her because she is breathtakingly good. The way she plays this unhinged monster of a woman as kind of a goofball is both very unnerving and kind of apt for the purposes of the show. On top of that, her singing. I think many people probably know that she is a great singer, Tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme. But at the same time, the way she sings Mrs. Lovett is another level. She sings as Lovett in both a very pleasing but grating way. She can sing these soft, amazing melodies, but for Mrs. Lovett, she manages to use her voice to make you kind of understand that this is a Victorian era setting about very odd people. The only way to show you is to show you. But at the same time, I don't want this video to get a copyright claim, so here's my favorite bit of her singing.
I know what it is to take them. I should know and make them that good now. The worst pies in London.
So you already have the woman who is unequivocally Mrs. Lovett. So who do you put in front of her? I haven't seen Len Cariou, the guy who originated the role on Broadway, act in the part, but he doesn't really impress me in the Broadway recording album. So this might be a bit harsh or unfair. But George Hearn is the perfect Sweeney Todd.
At last, my arm is complete again!
He is the best, no question asked. The way he plays the titular demon Barber is unmatchable, even when he does it years later. It's not just that he is a great singer, which he is, or that he knows what parts of the song to really put emphasis on in order to show a little madness, which he does. But for me, the biggest aspect of his portrayal of the titular Sweeney is the smiles and the laughs. I felt genuinely scared of him as I was watching the recording, because he manages to really embody the demon Barber of Fleet Street. The smiles he had that showed a bit of glee in his terrible actions, or that wonderful, unhinged, guttural laughter. That's... my God, that's Sweeney! So, for the first time after years of not understanding why everyone keeps talking about this musical, I got it. I watched Sweeney Todd, and I got scared, and I laughed. And those things are not really mutually exclusive either. Because this show has a dirty little secret. Like 2 bodies thrown into a barrel in the basement. And not that I have 2 bodies in my basement. You know what's gonna happen, right? I'm sorry. Before we get to the meat of the episode, I want to mention something quite intriguing. For some of you who probably think Angela Lansbury sounds familiar, she was the voice of Mrs. Potts in the original Beauty and the Beast, which is odd enough but nothing alarming. She's a very good singer, and her voice is versatile enough to be both a very prominent villain and a very kind-hearted side character. Or is she a kind-hearted side character? You see, that would be the end of the investigation, if not for another odd link. In 2014, New York Philharmonic put up a semi-stage concert of Sweeney Todd, which was also recorded for TV. In that concert, Emma Thompson plays the role of Mrs. Lovett. Now, Emma Thompson is a very prolific actress and has a number of great performances under her belt, but one of them is in the 2017 live-action remake of Beauty and the Beast as, you guessed it, Mrs. Potts. Now, I'm not one for conspiracies, but I'd hold off on trying that grey stuff, no matter how delicious, until I get answers on where does the castle supply its meats. Where are those two medieval French hikers who got lost in the mountain, Lumiere? Where are they? You know, you really think like by the third guy it's gonna get easier, but it really doesn't. You know, the way they beg for their life, you know, like, oh no, don't kill me, I have a kid. Yeah, but you know, the last guy had a kid too. And, you know, I'm not thinking it's not fair. So if I had to kill the last guy, I sort of need to kill you, you know? And, oh fuck, I'm gonna have to call you later. For better understanding of this part, I'm gonna have to regularly mention two specific songs. First one is Epiphany, which is the penultimate song of Act 1, and in it Sweeney sings about how he finally understands that people need to die, because according to him,
Because the lives of the wicked should be made brief for the rest of us, death will be a relief.
it is a horrifying song that underlines the true demonic nature of the demon Barber of Fleet Street. It's the sort of seemingly fair philosophy that only can occur to a mind without a share of empathy or humanity. Todd sings it as his journey from somewhat sympathetic murderer to cold-blooded killer is complete. It's a great song and sort of puts forward the way of thinking residing in Sweeney Todd's head. The second song we need to discuss is A Little Priest. Sadly, that is not a tiny version of Claude Frollo with a high-pitched voice.
The Saint of Eve she has in her, I know so well.
Cute, am I right? This man is another musical monster with somewhat sympathetic reasoning. A Little Priest is the song that Mrs. Lovett and Sweeney Todd sing together. It's the last song of Act 1, and it's the song that is immediately following Epiphany. It's a funny song about how Mrs. Lovett and Sweeney are going to kill people and grind them up and, you know, put them into meat pies. They make a ton of killer puns, which is in and of itself a pun.
No, this isn't fiddle player. It's piccolo player.
How can you tell?
It's piping hot.
And the whole song is both jaunty and very humorous. Now, there are other funny songs in the musical, but not many have the lasting impact of A Little Priest. And this song is why Sweeney Todd is the horror musical. Horror is something hard to describe and define. It's the feeling of fear, but not just fear alone. It's the deepest parts of your unrecognized fears that can manifest themselves on the screen. Now, a good horror movie can make you afraid of stuff you don't even know you're afraid of, like losing grasp of someone you love, or feeling helpless and alone at your most vulnerable state. But many of the horror movies and stories usually achieve that through the spectator. You get the fear by feeling close to the protagonist who is going through the horrifying experience and oftentimes empathize with them. You get the feeling of why Leatherface is a monster by seeing it through the eyes of Sally Hardesty. But the horror in Sweeney Todd comes from another aspect of it. You laugh at A Little Priest, you go home, you lie down in the bed and then realize you've laughed at the prospect of eating people. The musical manages to go from a very serious song and a heartless philosophy like Epiphany A song that Christopher Lee, the actor, deemed fitting enough to put it on his 1995 album Devils, Rogues and Other Villains, which I highly suggest you seek out, to a fun song about that same guy and his accomplice talking casually about killing innocent people and grinding them up and eating them, and we as audience just laugh along. In this case, the horror is not from the eye of the prospector, it's from feeling close to the killer. You are the monster at that point, and that is horrifying. This is why I call Stephen Sondheim a genius. Now, this is not just his creation. There are many examples in storytelling when you appear next to the monster and realize the dark depths of your soul if you were just given the chance. But not many of them are as funny as A Little Priest and come instantly after a horrendous declaration that all life is misery, let's kill people. So the humor in Sweeney Todd is very deliberate. This is a tragedy, by any definition of the word. But while watching it, it doesn't feel like one. It's not a horror show when you're watching it. It's a horror show when you're thinking about it. You know? At this point, I don't care. I just want to kill you. And then talk about what I've been teasing all this time. Always keeps your tools sharp and clean. It's very important. This is a bit of a tangent, and for that you have my apology. But my feelings towards Sweeney Todd were not always so warm. When I started my journey into musical, I was very much like Blanche Dubois. And not as beautiful certainly, but I also depended on the kindness of the strangers to point me towards important milestones that I needed to see. The name of the genius, Stephen Sondheim, popped up a lot, and the name Sweeney Todd popped up a lot too. But after I saw the 2017 Burton adaptation, I was confused. Why did people love this musical? For lack of a better word, I found it underwhelming. Now, I love Tim Burton. I really do. He's a great director, for the most part. And he has made some of my favorite movies of all time. But this wasn't a good musical. So, for the longest time, Stephen Sondheim for me wasn't the genius behind Sweeney Todd. He was the genius behind A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Phone, which I highly recommend. Now, if you'd asked me then, I probably couldn't articulate why I felt that way. The set design is good. The music was certainly acceptable, and the atmosphere was done with a lot of care, and it felt as grimy and dirty as the story needed it to be. But it wasn't really outstanding. Well, it took listening to a lot of different recordings of the show and watching the 1981 video recording of the American tour, but I finally have my answer. Tim Burton's version just isn't very funny. Now, there are other issues that I have with the movie concerning the fact that Burton's usual innocence is completely lost there, or how some minor changes to the story have muddled the themes. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to mainly discuss the humor. The Tim Burton version, for some reason, manages to suck out every bit of fun from the story, and by doing that, it made it just another subpar horror tale. The genius of Sweeney Todd is not the tale itself, it's how it's told to us. So the songs are there, you have A Little Priest, but there is not energy in that. Part of it falls on the shoulder of the actors who for some reason have decided to really underplay the emotions, but another part of it is the movie itself. The words of the lyrics are there, but it's hard to find this version of A Little Priest funny when the movie treats it with utmost strictness. So by removing the humor from Sweeney Todd, Burton has kind of taken out the heart of what makes Sweeney Todd work. Now we go from a quite underwhelming portrayal of Epiphany to a very stoic version of a little priest. Yep, they are the villains. Nothing else to see here. Move along. As I mentioned, the humor is what makes Sweeney Todd the musical that it is. Without it, what Burton has effectively done is a musical remake of that silent surviving movie. In the end, I can't help but to be a little asshole-ish. Though, so far I've killed 5 people, so you should have seen this coming. Helena Bonham Carter doesn't manage to do anything other than what she usually is. The movie is good, but it's only aesthetic and honestly not a good representation of what makes Sweeney Todd scary. And Johnny Depp? Johnny Depp is many things. He's 2 out of the top 3 Edwards in cinema. He's in Bat Country. He's a lizard. But he's not Sweeney Todd.
At last, my arm is complete again.
Because to be Sweeney Todd, on top of the need to sing good, you need to blink and make the rat scuttle. That's part of the lyrics. Circle complete. Let's kill another one! While I try to find a way to remove blood and dissolve bodies, I urge you, if you like the video, to tell me by pushing that like button. Maybe leave a comment with your favorite iteration of the Demon Barber or other Sondheim musicals that you deem as his best. Or just tell me that I'm wrong. If you want to see more of me, and wow, why wouldn't you? Don't forget to also click that subscribe button, and why not share this video with people who you think might like it too. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram under @acams88, where I'll be posting updates regarding to the channel, at least for the moment. Hell, you might even see some ads very soon for a very peculiar set of meat pies. With that said, I'm Ali, and remember, to seek revenge may lead to hell. But everyone does it, and seldom as well as me. I'm Sweeney!